women like men fuck. It's the same thing. If we're both having sex at the same time, why am I the one being used? Mm-hmm. Why can't it be that he's being used? Seeing a woman play a man's game and win at it was very disturbing to people.
Da-da-da. Yo, what's up?
Hey!
Oh my God, it's so good to meet you.
Oh my God, so good.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a hugger.
I'm in trouble.
Why?
Because look at these. It's time for a new full set, so I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do a little pointy.
Ooh. Or like...
A little cat-like.
Okay.
And then I know I need like black and gold design.
Oh, so you really know what you're doing.
Yeah. And what about you?
Something fun and funky, I guess.
Yeah, and I think every, like, a different color would be really cool, too.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah?
Yeah, let's
okay.
go. I'm with it. Hey, yeah.
How are you?
Super excited.
What are we getting done today? Okay, so today I want a tapered tip with black and gold designs, and I'll leave that completely up to you. Well, we can do that. That's perfect. Sam, what are you doing?
I want a Pokeball, and then a Pikachu Hennessy bottle.
Okay, adventurous. Wait.
Tickle Me Elmo.
What?
Yeah, just like a bunch of different like cool stuff that I like. So where did you grow up?
So I was born in St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands. The movie Jaws, when it came out, I was afraid to go in the water. And then there's no escaping an island. And St. Thomas is a very small island. I think it's like a 30-something square miles.
Were you like dying to leave?
I was. So I used to like watch movies, a lot of Marilyn Monroe, Elvis, classic films. I always wanted to move to California. Elvis would always do these like beach movies. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I want to go to California and go to Venice Beach and like live this California life. So that's what I did. Where'd you grow up?
Boston.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How is that?
What? Why does everyone always make that?
Because it feels not as inclusive as other places.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I grew up there, so for me, it's not any more racist than anywhere else I've been, you know?
Really, yeah.
No more racist than America is, kind of period, you know what I mean? I think when you grow up somewhere, you also like know kind of its inner workings. Mm. And then when people who don't know come in, it could probably feel crazy to them because they just don't know how the city is. You kind of just figure out the lay of the land and learn how to navigate it for yourself, you know?
Where else have you lived?
Georgia, Atlanta, of course, where all Black people go for a period.
Do they? Is that a thing?
I think it is. It's like, you know how like Jewish people, they get to take that trip to Israel for free, and like, I think for Black people, it's Atlanta, and you got to pay for it.
Wow.
And then LA for like 2 years, and then New York.
I'm leaving LA after 20 years and coming to New York.
Yeah, it's time.
Okay, so you realize you're famous.
No, I don't feel famous.
What do you mean?
I know, I don't though.
But between stand-up, between your show, like people know who you are. But when did you realize that people recognized and knew who you are, what you do?
Really, it was recently because like when I made this special, we were kind of still in COVID bubble. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like I got to like put something out and then go outside and kind of like see the effects of it at all, you know? I was just at the house like, I hope people are watching this. So it's been in like the last, I don't know, 9 months that it's felt like I go places and people are like, oh, yo, I love you, or like, I love what you're doing. People are actually invested in it in some kind of way, which is mind-blowing to me.
What was like a particular time? I have a story like this. I'm wondering like if you have a story where like one day you were at Whole Foods and then somebody said something.
Yeah, I was going to this event, like my homie was throwing a party, and I was walking past a restaurant and there was like a ballet. And he just like grabbed me and hugged me. He was like, yo, my like, I love your shit.
That's a lot.
And I was like, whoa. But then he caught himself. He was like, oh my God, like, I'm so sorry. I watched Pause and I watched your stuff and you being so you that I just feel like I know you, but I just realized, I don't know you. Oh. So like, my bad. And it was really sweet, you know what I mean? And it was just like, oh, that's cool, because the stuff that I'm doing is resonating in the way that I hoped it would. I wasn't like upset, but it was like, dude, chill out, you know? It's always weird to me, you know, because I didn't do any of this to be famous. I just wanted to create stuff and put it out there. To be honest with you, like when I first thought about my comedy dream, I was like, if I could make like $40,000 a year doing comedy, that would be so cool. Yeah. You know, I just wanted to be able to do it and like pay rent.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that was kind of as far as my mind was going. So all of the residual is like nuts to me. You know, I'm still processing it. When did you know?
It was 2006.
Oh, come on, dates.
It was the daytime Emmys.
Daytime Emmys.
I was on the carpet with my boyfriend at the time,
This is so already famous.
Bill Maher, and then Halle Berry came out and took photos with us. And she was like, "Oh my God, I love you."
That's crazy. That's crazy.
That's when I knew. I was like, I'm in.
I forgot you dated Bill Maher.
Who could forget that? That was,
I did. I did until you just said it. I was like, oh, hell yeah. I remember that being like, what? I was proud of Bill Maher. As a comic, I like to see comics pull hotties. Like, go crazy, Bill Maher. Okay, so like I grew up, you know, early 2000s. I'm a high schooler. So I feel like I definitely had even coming in here, a level of perception about you and who you are. I would assume that's something you deal with often. How do you feel about that whole idea of like perception versus the reality?
I live in it. So I create a persona for that perception to protect who I am as a person. So person and persona are different. So I don't mind the perception. You're perceiving something that I wanted you to perceive. Like, you're doing what I wanted you to do.
Right.
Right?
You felt in control of the narrative.
Absolutely. The
Okay.
whole time. You know, I give you a name that's not real. I cherry pick stories and events that have nothing to do with my everyday life. Meanwhile, I'm in bed at 9. I'm watching the Golden Girls. I'm scrubbing floors. Like, I'm living my life the way I live my life, which is not the way my persona lives her life. I created her to be infamous. Like, she is an infamous character. Like, I worked really hard on her, on creating something that people would never forget, would always talk about, a figure that would sell books, that would make me money.
But, and I'm not trying to challenge you, but I'm
Please
just a
do.
naturally inquisitive person.
Go for it.
You had to live that experience as well
Yes.
to some degree, right?
Right. So here's the issue with that, is that in creating a character, and now you have to live up to this character, that's the part that became difficult. Because to be infamous, you have to be infamous. It's exhausting to create a character and then have to be the character all the time.
So were you like fully aware of this stuff when the Video Vixen book came out?
Yeah.
I was young. So I read it and I was like, whoa, salacious. This is what's happening in the industry. Oh my God, this is crazy. She's like had all these sexual exploits with all these dudes. What a life. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I will ever experience anything like that. So I'm kind of living vicariously through this book I'm reading and going like, holy shit. Also in my mind, these things are actually happening to you. So like with all of this, you're a person on the other end, whether this is a character you created or not, you're an actual human, like feeling and going through this stuff.
Right.
How did you make peace with that?
Okay, so there's the public part that is front facing, and that's one thing. It's like, here's what happened, but then there's the private part that has to deal with it privately. So Elisabeth dealt with those things through therapy and did that privately. And then Corinne was just going and going and going. Because in order for me to continue to write books like this, I had to keep living like that.
Right.
But by the time I get to like my mid-30s, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
But here's the part. Publishers did not want me to stop. So they kept asking me to write the same book over and over again. And what people don't know is that there were things that I said, for instance, you know, that there was a character named Papa in the first book.
Yeah, yep.
Everybody wanted to know who Papa was. I would never tell.
He was your Mr. Big.
He was my Mr. Big. But by the time I got to my second book, the publisher, after they paid me for the book, I turned in the book. Papa was not named in the book. Called me and said, if you don't name him, give us back all the money. And being like blackmailed by my publishers if I didn't do what they wanted me to do. So a lot of what Corinne did in those first years felt like forced labor a little bit. I started a persona that nobody wanted me to finish.
Yeah.
She had to keep going. By the time I got to my mid-30s, I was like, guys, I've grown and my son is getting older and I can't continue to write this way. So there was a time where the persona and the person went through a little war. The person was growing and the person was learning and the person was evolving, but the persona can't.
How much do you think just the era and the culture of the time was dictating how you were behaving, or at least your perception of how you were gonna break through.
Yo, what a time to be alive. And when I was coming up, like in high school, it was Little Kim, it was is Get Money, it
Right.
was like, it was a whole thing, but also sexually empowering to listen to women owning their bodies, their sexual agency, and feminism was a thing. It was like, it's me and my friends, we're all out like, yeah, let's just do what we want and let's do what the boys do and do it better than the boys. It did inform the decisions that I made as a young woman, but also what informed me more than that was the trauma. It was trauma. So the person was dealing with trauma through the persona, right? I became the kind of person that abused me. It was such a battle almost between good and evil, this battle of the persona versus the person, you know, Corinne versus Elizabeth. I think eventually Elizabeth won out, but that was a difficult choice to make too. To get rid of Corinne was very difficult because she was my armor.
And I think everybody, well, at least when you go through trauma, you build something like that. My mom passed away when I was very young, and I had to live with a lot of family members and just dealt with a lot of stuff. There was a person that I created to kind of shield me.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Like, so watching you on stage doing your thing, how much of what you do is persona versus the person? And like, what's the dichotomy there?
It is like a nasty, like, orgy going on. Sometimes I'm like, maybe I should be making more separation between these things, but I don't know how to, because comedy is such like this revealing thing. And the comics I've always loved have been truth tellers, the Pryors, the Daves, the Chris Rocks, you know, even the Bill Maher's, like people who kind of just stand in their truth and like ride it.
Yeah.
So for me, there can't be any lies in
Yes.
there. It has to be like honest and true to how I feel, and all of that. It's too personal sometimes, I feel like, because I'm not creating these separations and boundaries. Even with Pause, it's like, you're in my life. I'm interviewing my brother about him going to jail, and we're having like real conversations. So I've been trying to honestly figure out how to make those boundaries for myself so I still feel like safe and like a part of me still belongs to me.
Right.
I don't know that I've figured it out quite yet.
Who you see on the outside isn't the complete.
It's not the whole story.
It's not the whole story.
Yeah. Like, it was very hard for my fiance when the first special came out. And like, I don't do material about her without asking her, like, are you fine with this?
I was gonna ask you that too.
Yeah, no, I ask her because it's public, you know, and like, she has to be cool. But then there was like all this backlash that she wasn't expecting, you know, just people yelling stupid stuff like, get a job, bitch, you carry your own bags, or whatever it is that she just didn't think would come with it. But it's like, yo, you really can't control that. You can't filter that stuff. You kind of have to like filter it for yourself. I don't read stuff. I don't look my name up.
No,
I don't
never.
Google myself.
Nope.
I don't look at YouTube comments. Because even when you're telling these stories, you're reserving what you want to reserve and giving what you want to give. Absolutely. And there is a lot of autonomy in that, and power in that. I think it's really refreshing to hear you say that, honestly, because I do think, again, public perception versus reality, the perception was like, oh, all these dudes got to use her and now she's making a book to try to like recoup. But to know mentally, like, decisions and conscious and understood decisions were
it was a plan
being made.
What's so funny is that when a woman has sexual autonomy, people assume she's being used.
Yeah.
Right? Women like men and we do it whenever we want to. It's the same thing. And if we're both having sex at the same time, why am I the one being used? Why can't it be that he's being used? Seeing a woman play a man's game and win at it was very disturbing to people, because then the men felt used because they were used.